My name's Toby. I'm 44 years old and I have a type 2 glioma. About a year ago, or just over a year ago, I felt pretty healthy, tired and hectic like all our lives are, but with 2 young kids, beautiful wife, a couple of businesses running, busy life, and then it all sort of went upside down a bit when I drove back from a friend's house after one night round here and felt a bit dizzy on the way home, which I'd never felt before, and pulled the car over to the side of the road and woke up about 6 or 7 hours later still in the car, which was a bit scary, and I felt exhausted and wiped out from it. We went to the GP the next day. We did a few tests, sent me out, and one of them being a brain MRI, and they rang me like 10 minutes after the MRI and said, "You better come back because there's something in there." So we went back to met the neurosurgeon, and they said, "Look, you've got a golf ball sized tumour growing in the front left lobe of your brain." He said, "Do you ever get headaches?" I said, "No, nothing like that. I feel, other than what happened the other day, I feel completely fine." So then they sent me off to do a number of MRIs and contrast MRIs where you find out whether you light up like a Christmas tree internally, which luckily I didn't, but they said, "Look, we think it's a type 2 glioma, which is the slower moving one, but the reality is it becomes a type 3 and 4 in the end." I said, "So does that mean it gets me one day?" And they said, "Traditionally, yeah." It was very confronting to hear that, and very confronting for all my friends and family, and a lot more than I thought. Father's Day last year, I was in hospital and having the operation, had to have an awake surgery, which I didn't know was a thing. And I remember the neurosurgeon saying, "It feels as though from your body language that you're not okay with that." And I said, "I just didn't know that was a thing." I said, "Why do I need an awake one?" They said, "Because it's near the speech part of your brain, but we don't know exactly where that line is. So we sort of have to know how it's going." I said, "Well, do you just cut away until I start slurring?" And they said, sort of, yeah." I said, "Well, how do you know how much is too much, that slur doesn't go away?" And they said, "Well, that's what we ask you during the process." I'm like, okay. It went successfully, the surgery, which is they did a brilliant job, got all of it they could see out. And so every 6 months I'll have a scan MRI to check how it's going. It was like being in a bit of a fog, and that's the hardest bit I've been able to explain to people, that there's a fog and a darkness that goes with it, and I was really burnt out. There's an amazing, particularly in Melbourne, Australia, we're at the forefront of a lot of the research into brain cancer, and I didn't know much about brain cancer before this at all. I had very little exposure. One of my friend's brothers had it, but you just sort of listen on the periphery, but you don't really take it in because you don't see it. So I've met a lot of people and see that the research is there, but I now understand that researchers spend 50% of their time trying to get money for grants to actually spend more time doing the research. The message is, what if? Like, what if I have 15 to 20 years, my kids being 5 and 8, probably won't have children. They might, I don't know. They might be married, they might not choose not to get married, who knows. But if I had 5 or 10 extra years, I get to spend with my family, and I get to walk Stella down the aisle or meet my grandkids or something, but at the moment may not get to do that. I had a scan last week, and on Friday they told me the results that it's grown a little bit and I need to get the next stage, which is radiotherapy, which I only know a little bit about, or they go in and they dig a bit more out. And everyone thinks that that's a hard thing to hear, but it's sort of just what life is now. So I think it's like managing an injury in a weird way, that it just becomes part of what you do. I've never used the word cancer in front of the kids yet. That's one bit we've left out. And they obviously saw me and I had a scar, looked like a medieval dungeon, so they couldn't avoid. I said, "There's something in my head that's not meant to be there. We need to take it out, and then I have to monitor it." So they get that. The research is there and the passion is there. There just isn't time. So therefore, you've got to raise money to try and give people time, because that's all it's about. All I want to be is around for longer.